3. In this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast, James and I, we are going to share our thoughts on some of the top weekend standouts in college basketball, and we are going to highlight some of the big time performances. Stay tuned. Big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. I am your host, Rafael Barlowe, along with my co-host, who happens to be my brother, James Barlowe. And we are going to talk about some of the big time performances. It was hard to narrow it down to a few because there were quite a few guys that I thought had really strong showings. But before we get into this episode, I want to let you know that it is brought to you by FanDuel, because Super Bowl 59 is here, and there is no better way to make every play more exciting than with the FanDuel Sportsbook. And if you're a new customer, you can bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Also want to let you know that your favorite Locked On NBA podcast has a newsletter. Check it out at lockedondaily.com. It is your one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered to your inbox every day. Again, lockedondaily.com for the Locked On NBA newsletter covering your favorite team. And also, if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please subscribe, like, share, comment. Click the bell so you can be notified every time we drop an episode. That is the Locked On NBA Big Boy YouTube channel. Again, subscribe, click the bell so you can be notified, because we're coming at you 5 days a week, if not more. All right, let's get right into this episode. Good weekend of college basketball. Quite a few high-level prospects, I thought, had some strong performances. In your opinion, James, was there anybody that you felt really improved their draft stock, or in another case, solidified why you are high on them as an NBA prospect?
I don't know if he improved his draft stock, but I tweeted out that Thomas Sorber had like the best 7 minutes of basketball that you could possibly play. He was everywhere. I mean, let me just read off like the play-by-play just for you. Thomas Sorber defensive rebound. 8 seconds later, Thomas Sorber three-pointer. 9:16 mark, Thomas Sorber steal. Thomas Sorber jumper. Thomas Sorber block. Like, he did everything you could possibly ask for. I think he caught a lob. Like, he scored from all 3 levels. He was blocking shots. He was stealing lobs. Like, he was basically everywhere. And unfortunately, they did lose to Providence. But Thomas Sorber finished the game. He played the whole 40 minutes. He finished with 25 and 15 rebounds, 2 assists, 10 of 17 shooting, 2 of 3 from the three-point line. He had 2 steals and 3 blocks. Like, I watched the game, at least the first half of the game, and like I said, he was everywhere. I think that was if I were his agent, I'm like, look, man, just watch that first half, and this is a glimpse of what my guy Thomas Sorber could be. So I think he played extremely well, and if somebody improved upon their draft stock, it was definitely him.
Yeah, we're talking about Georgetown freshman center Thomas Sorber. And actually, to my knowledge, he doesn't have an agent, because I've talked to a couple of agents that have been making the trips, following him around, trying to recruit him. Outside of like Jeremiah Fears, he's the player that I think has really just come out of nowhere. Wasn't the most highly touted freshman, wasn't a projected one-and-done guy, but he has put himself in position to be a one-and-done prospect. And Georgetown is a school that has a tradition of producing high-level big men, from Patrick Ewing to Dikembe Mutombo to Alonzo Mourning, Othello Harrington, Roy Hibbert, and Sorber.
Greg Monroe.
Forgot Greg Monroe. And Sorber looks like he's next. And when I watched the film, he hit a 3 on the opening possession. Now, you could tell that was a shot that they were going to give him, because he's not the most efficient shooter. He has shown flashes of being able to knock down shots, but when I watched like the film, it was like 3, midi jumper, 3, lob. He showed soft hands. He showed the ability to finish with his left hand. Then he had a play where he finished off the left shoulder with the right hand in contact. He had a left hand running hook. Like, he showed the whole package offensively, but he also had 15 rebounds, 5 on the offensive glass, block shots. He's a player that I think he can slim down a little bit. He still looks a little pudgy, but I think he can even get in better shape. And you'll probably see more of the athletic plays like we saw as far as him catching a lob. He's a player that I didn't have in my top 30, but it's going to be hard to keep him out. I mean, he's been very productive. What more can I say?
Yeah, I have him as a first round pick. I've had him as a first round pick probably since early on, so I guess you got to catch up. The concerns that I do have, he's not super explosive in traffic like an Asa Newell is. Like, Asa Newell's got bunnies, but everything else he does like extremely well. And he is a bit of a old school back to the basket in a sense, but maybe that's just because that's how they use them. And college basketball is still definitely back to the basket. But the signs that he showed against Providence the other night, the mid-range jumper, the 3-ball, like
he had 2 of them.
Yeah. That is, and I know he's at like 20% on the season, but ultimately, like with him not being super explosive in the paint, but him being able to stretch the floor, like that is where he's probably going to make his money, at least on the offensive end. But like you said, good hands. He's a very good passer, probably behind Queen as far as passing bigs in this draft. So I need to look and see where I have him. I think I had him in the top 20. If not, I feel like he will end up as a top 15 to 20 pick just because he does so much. And like, I think with his defensive ability and talent, he has a mean streak. Like, I think the game, I can't remember if it was a home game. It was an away game against Providence. And you could hear him on his KG talk, Rob, like, get that stuff out of here. But he wasn't saying stuff like, and that's not just that last game. Like, he has a mean streak, and a big with a mean streak, like that's almost half the battle because you got to have a certain level of toughness. And he has that dog. So I was very impressed with him against Providence.
Yeah, man. 6'10", 255 pounds, reported 7'6" wingspan. Like, when I first saw him play, I thought him as like, a traditional big, but he's shown that he can put the ball on the floor. There was a play this game where, like I said, faced up, drove, finished with his left, knocked down a couple middies, knocked down threes. And so he does have an old school feel, but he does, in my opinion, have enough new school in this game to where he can be a productive player. At least in my opinion, I think he can be a productive player at the next level. All right, up next, I want to talk about Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg, had a really, really good performance in my eyes, but I thought this was a test for him. Maybe not the biggest test of the season, but I thought Wake Forest really tested him, and I'm going to share my thoughts on Cooper Flagg's performance against Wake Forest. And, of course, we got to talk about Tre Johnson's monster game. Stay tuned. All right, before we get into the second segment, let's talk about FanDuel because Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, 2 teams, endless possibilities, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting. Whether it is predicting the first touchdown, calling out the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from the kickoff to the final whistle. And the live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field. And the app is super, super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and have the potential to win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, that is the icing on the cake. So download the app and head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, the official partner of Super Bowl 59. All right, second segment. So I want to talk about Cooper Flagg from Duke, the projected number 1 pick in the 2025 NBA draft. Flagg is I mean, it's almost like every week we're going to talk about this guy as one of the standouts for the weekend. He had another stellar performance against Wake Forest, 24 points. He was 8 of 16 from the floor. He did miss 5 of his 6 threes, but the 3 that he hit I thought was big. He had 7 rebounds, 6 assists. One of the reasons why I thought this game was a good test for him because Wake Forest was physical. He was on the ground a few times. I think they made him work for everything. There were times where he was doubled. They really were like up in him, and he was able to like figure it out in the second half. They did force him to 7 turnovers, and he was picking up his dribble early a couple times. But I just thought like this game showed just how mentally tough he is, simply because again, he got elbowed. The refs, you talk about swallowing your whistle. The refs were letting them play. I mean, they were hacking. There were
College basketball is so unnecessarily physical, man.
But this game, it was like the refs said, hey, these two schools, in-state school, I don't think Duke has beat Wake Forest the last couple of times they played. There's going to be some chippiness. We're going to let them play. I mean, they were really letting them play. It got physical. But one of the reasons why this game stood out to me, because Flagg got his production. He had his points. Like I said, 24 points. He got his rebounds, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, had his blocks. Duke was winning. Then they went ice cold. I want to say they was like 1 for like 19.
It was like 13. It was like 13 minutes, I think, where they didn't have a field goal.
Yeah, 12 or 13 minutes. Wake Forest ends up taking the lead with a like 17-1 run. Flagg hit his only 3 of the game to end that run that Wake Forest was on. And then in the second half, it's like he figured it out. He drove to the basket, finishing with his left hand, with his right hand. They were running ball screens. He got the ball at the top of the key and drove to his left, got to his launching pad, emphatic 2-hand slam. But the part of the game that really impressed me was the passes that he was making. No, they did not all lead to baskets, but the way he was finding guys in the corner, I thought that was a very underrated part of his performance. And it just showed like how good of a passer he is. Yes, he's a playmaker, but when they double teamed him, he was just finding guys. And I like bigs that can make skip passes. Like there are bigs that can make passes on the roll. And I mean, I guess you can't really, some people may say he's not a big. He's just a ball player.
Some people.
So forgive me for saying big if you don't think he's a big. But again, I was just impressed with some of the reads that he made. Yes, he had seven turnovers, but he had a lot of high-level reads, finding guys in the corner, a couple of dump-offs. And I was just impressed with Flagg's performance.
Yeah, the most impressive pass that he made was, I believe, in the first half. He hit Patrick Ngangba, I want to say. He looked like Derek Queen's little brother, but he hit him they doubled him, and he hit him for a dump-off pass. But, like, Cooper Flagg is just cold at basketball, man. Like, I say it every time we talk about him. Like, I try to judge guys on your bad game, not your best game, because, obviously your best game, everything works. So, like, that game against Pitt where he lit them up, or was that Pitt where he had 42? No, Notre Dame, he had 42. Like, that's amazing. But when you have a tough game and you still get your numbers and you're still productive, and like you said, he had 7 turnovers. He was throwing the ball away like crazy, but he still, like, that was a okay, bad game for him. And yet you still walk away feeling like he's the best player on the floor. Like, he's a special talent. And like I said, handle has to get better and improve, but his ability to create leverage and get to the basket and finish and draw fouls is like second to none in this draft, because he's strong. He's got broad shoulders. I think one of the bigs was trying to like hand check him, and he subtle little hand swipe off, like little stuff like that. Ralph, that's wing stuff right there. But Flagg is cold, man. It's almost, again, I get tired of talking about him, but as long as he produces, like, you have to keep talking about him. He just plays well. 5 assists per game in ACC play.
And he's just tough. Like, he's he's tough. They challenged him. They try to beat him up. They try to play physical. He adjusted, and when he came down the lane with that two-hand dunk, kind of hung on the rim and grabbed his nuts, he was like,
Yeah. Hey, and listen, don't sleep on his ability to like create dunks for himself in the half court, because who else are we talking about that can create unassisted dunks for themselves in the half court?
well, not many guys got that launching pad.
But it's
Speaking of,
launching pad, it's leverage, it's using your body, it's being good with the ball. Like, I can't think of anybody else that can create a dunk for themselves like he can, at least
yeah,
as consistently as he can in the half court.
facts. All right, let's talk about another player that faced some adversity, and I thought he had arguably the best performance of the weekend, and that is our guy Tre Johnson, the freshman from Texas. And I think we are probably the leaders of the Tre Johnson fan club. I had him at number 4 on my last mock draft that came out on NBABigBoard.com, and this game against a hated rival, Texas A&M. To me, this was like a signature performance from Tre, simply because they were down 22. I was watching the game and then I turned it off because Duke Wake Forest was coming on. It was like 51-29 with like 17 minutes left. But one of the things that stood out to me about what I saw in the game before I ended up having to watch the replay was they were getting blown out at home. It's a in-state rival, new conference rival, because it's still weird that they're in the SEC. But this was a game that featured quite a few kids from Dallas, quite a few kids that grew up playing against each other. There was a lot of chirping going on, and Texas was getting smacked. It looked like it was over, but you could see the intensity in his eyes. You could see the will to win. You could see he was the leader. You could see that he just wanted to win so badly. And no, I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh yeah, I could look in his eyes and see that he was going to carry the team. But to me, that's the stuff that doesn't show up in the box scores. It's not going to show up on your analytic modules. It's not going to show up on your queries of advanced stats. How bad does a guy want to win? And do his teammates respect him? And is he a dog? Tre proved to be a dog. Of course, I saw like the last play of the game when I realized that they were coming back. But what he did in the second half, he had 6 points at the first half. I'll put it like that. 6 points in the first half. He had 24 in the second half, and he scored 15 points in the final 6 minutes and 21 seconds. But more importantly, outside of the leadership that he showed and the will to win, he was 10 of 10 from the foul line. Texas wins, and they played without Arthur Kaluma, who's their second leading scorer and leading rebounder. Tre willed them to victory. Now, Tremont Mark did hit the game-winning shot, but I was impressed with Tre. I mean, the shot making, we know that's what he does. We know he gets buckets. But just the way that he willed this team to win, and as a freshman, they rallied around him, and you can tell he's the top dog in that locker room.
Listen, he had 30, Ralph, and as I went back and watched, he probably should have had 45, because every shot he shot looked like it was going in, and they just weren't going in. But again, you talk about the mental toughness to stick to it. You could easily pack it in on the road, but like if you listeners, viewers, if you get a chance to like rewatch, just even if you find like the misses, like every shot was on target. They were all rimming in, rimming out. And you know, he is legit. He's got NBA range. The 10 free throws is exactly what we need to see. Well, they need to see from him to be a believer. I believe his first basket of the game
was a layup.
Again, which was a sign. He turned the corner and he got a left-handed layup. I've been high on Tre Johnson since he was legit at Lake Highlands High School. So to see him on this level, like, just goes to show like he's got big time talent. I had him at 4th. I brought up the argument that, hey man, what if he's just as good as Ace Bailey? Again, he's not as tall and he's not going to rebound as well. You're not going to get the shot blocking. But from the offensive standpoint, creating your own offense, and he is a better playmaker than Ace Bailey. I mean, hey, what do you know? Again, will Ace go higher? Probably so. But Tre Johnson, pound for pound, is as talented as a shooter, scorer, shot maker as anybody in this draft. And even watching like I said, man, I don't know. I might be tooting my horn a little earlier. But even watching the replay, listen to the broadcast, they say he rarely uses pick and rolls. He rarely uses pick and rolls. Like, I'm telling you, once he and the coaching staff, which at whatever level it happens, figures that out about him, special talent, Ralph.
Yeah, he's a shot maker. Doesn't need help. He just looks like a guy. I know his dad played college ball, and I think his dad played for Coach
Baylor.
Terry at Texas at some point during Rodney Terry's coaching career. But it just looks to me like Tre and his dad play one-on-one every day because he's got one-on-one game. Like, there's some guys that need a screen. There's some guys that just need help. Tre can get to his sweet spots whenever, and he's gotten stronger. So I know you saw the play where he ran dude over, which is still weird to me because, I still see him as skinny Tre. That he used to have the arms hanging all the way down to his shins, but he's getting stronger. And I will say this: he had 4 assists. He had some nice highlight reel passes. He had like a little scoop pass, no look pass. He also had 2 blocks.
He can pass, man.
I mean, we've been
we
saying
know,
that
but listeners, viewers, listen, he can pass for real.
And that's the thing. Like, I feel like, yes, he can pass, but like they said, the announcer said, he doesn't use a lot of ball screens. I do think that at the next level, he is going to need to use more ball screens to show more of his passing. Because right now he's I don't want to say just, but ISO one-on-one, and Texas A&M threw everything at him. They knew, the whole game plan was to stop him. And I was also impressed with how well he moved off the ball. Like, when they were denying him, he wasn't like a one effort offensive guy where if he's going for the ball and he gets denied, he stands still. He kept moving till he got the ball. And there was a couple of times where he was able to get free and knock down some corner threes. Again, Tre Johnson, elite level shot maker, top 5 pick in my opinion. And I thought this was a signature game for him. I mean, 30 points, career high. Yes, it's easy to say it's a signature game, but to me it was the passing, the 2 blocks, and the fact that they were down 22. He scored 15 points in the final 6.5 minutes. It was crazy because when I was watching the Wake Forest game, I felt like Wake Forest only had, as a team, like 22 points at half. And Tre scored on the other channel 16 in 6.5 minutes. All right, up next, let's talk about Ace Bailey. Ace was not efficient, but he showed some good signs, and then we're going to talk about Jase Richardson for the first time on this podcast this year. I know it is long overdue. All right, last segment. Ace Bailey, in my opinion, the number 3 pick in the 2025 NBA draft, 6'10" freshman bucket getter, and also a bucket getter. Tre Johnson and Ace Bailey are 2 of the best bucket getters, in my opinion, in this draft. Of course, you can throw Cooper Flagg in there, but Ace Bailey is a 6'10" freshman from Rutgers. All right, James, the floor is yours on Ace Bailey. Well, because I wrote an article that came out today on NBABigBoard.com, shameless plug, and it was my top weekend performers, and Ace didn't make the cut. I thought there was a few other guys that deserved to be on the cut. I thought VJ Edgecombe played better. He had a good game. I had Sorber. Keyshawn Hall from Central Florida had 26, 8, and 2. There's quite a few guys that I would have had over Ace, but I did see some good signs. I mean, if there's a such thing as a silver lining, Ace couldn't buy a basket, but he still found ways to make the game close with Dylan Harper, a late scratch. And I mean, it was a competitive game against Michigan State for the most part, but I want to hear your thoughts on Ace's performance.
I have no issues really with Ace's performance. I mean, listen, they are a top-heavy team, and their best player was out. So Ace had to do what he had to do. Now, was he in jail? Sure, he was in jail. He shot 4 for 17, but again, that's not what this is about. He got to the line 8 times, and some of it was crashing the offensive glass. Like, he found ways to help Rutgers keep the game as close as possible. 18 points, 9 rebounds, no assists. That's fine. They only had 9 assists as an entire team. So I'm not going to knock him for not passing when they couldn't do anything. Like, and Michigan State is a top 10 team.
I want to add this about the assists. Ace Bailey has 0 assists in his last 69 minutes played.
Listen, man, I'm not going to – if I say something, I'm a hater. I'm not – Ace – it was a tough game. It's a tough matchup. And like I said about Cooper Flagg, I try to judge you when everything is going wrong just as much as I judge you when everything is going right. And for him to be able to affect the game and even just help this depleted Rutgers team to be close, I'm not going to sit here and bash him for that. Did he take tough shots? Absolutely. You have to take tough shots when it's just you out there and, you know, you're number 1 on the scouting report and number 2 on the scouting report. And he had probably the best athlete in America guarding him in Cohen Carr. Cohen Carr blocked his jumper. Cohen Carr's like 6'5". But, yeah, it was a tough matchup. And, you know, I'll excuse him shooting poorly. But it'd be interesting to see now, Ralph. Dylan Harper was a late scratch. And I don't know if it was his ankle.
Yeah. He was on the scouting report as, I think, doubtful with the ankle injury. I know the rumors are like, uh-oh.
Okay, so let's
shut it down.
So if Dylan Harper, let's just say he's out. We won't speculate, but let's say he's out the next 2 or 3 games. How does Ace Bailey figure it out to keep the team competitive? That's my question for Ace Bailey, because it's gonna be tough.
No doubt. No doubt. It's gonna be tough. I mean, they're already in a situation where their back is against the wall anyway, and they need Dylan Harper to have a puncher's chance. I'm just hoping that we get a chance to see the top 2 or 2 of the top 3 or 5 picks in the NCAA tournament. Right now, it's not looking light, especially in this year. I mean, in the past few years, you know, from Victor to Scoot to the Thompson twins to Risa Shea and Saar, we didn't get a chance to see them on the brightest stage in the NCAA tournament. And even though college basketball is back this year, there's a good chance that, in my opinion, 2 of the top 3 picks will not be playing in March Madness. All right, let's switch sides to Jase Richardson, the son of Jase Richardson, a 6'3" freshman guard from Michigan State. I know he's like one of the analytics darlings.
He's the poster child
of the draft class.
First team spreadsheet. Shout out to the spreadsheet team.
It was like he was crazy efficient. Like, I mean, even then, now, I mean, you see he's shooting like 57% from the floor, 45% from 3, 85% from the foul line. I've been wanting to see it on like high volume. He hasn't attempted 10 shots in a game at all this year. It's not a knock on the efficiency. I just have wanted to see it under more volume. And in the Rutgers game, I want to say it was like a career high 9 shots, but he was 6 of 9 from the floor, made 3 or 4 from deep. I mean, the analytics definitely love this game.
Darling.
5 of 5 from the foul line, had 4 rebounds and assists, 20 points, which is also a career high. What are your thoughts on Jase overall? Like, to me, he's kind of polarizing in a sense. The numbers love him, but he's 6'3".
I don't think he's 6'3". I mean, you know, it's hard to tell on TV. My thoughts on Jase Richardson are this. You can't deny the efficiency, right? But I don't know what he is, because I don't think he's a point guard. And then that would make him a small shooting guard, but he doesn't have I don't think he has great athleticism. Now, again, the bloodlines are the bloodlines, but he didn't have his dad bloodlines as far as like that top end athleticism. And his dad was 6'5". But let's say he's a 6'2" combo guard that can shoot. How does that translate at the next level? Like, does he have enough point guard skills? Does he have enough shooting guard skills? Is he somebody you put him next to like Paolo and Franz Wagner? Like, I don't know. And then even in high school, he played with the Boozer brothers. So he definitely didn't play point guard because Caden Boozer was playing point guard. So I don't know. And it's almost like, what does the NBA think of him? Again, I know the analytics love him, but like, what is he at the next level? I don't know, and I can't figure it out. Again, is he a good player? Yes. Is he like Mike Conley? I don't know, because he doesn't handle the ball as much as Mike Conley.
Yeah, Mike Conley was a pure point, and Mike had that first step.
And Mike Conley's a great athlete. I mean, yeah. So I don't know.
His game isn't based off of athleticism, but young Mike Conley was fast.
Yeah. So I don't know. Jase Richardson is like, again, the numbers are great, but sometimes numbers lie. You know what I'm saying? And
so are you saying they're lying?
I'm not saying they don't lie about how good of a shooter he is. Obviously, they don't lie about the efficiency, but do they lie as far as him being? I've seen him, again, everybody's mocks, big boards, shout out to him. I've seen him in the lottery. And like, I don't know if he's a lottery pick, because again, what does it look like? And can I get that? Am I drafting that kind of player that high is what I'm saying. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I just want to see it on higher volume. But what did you see in the Rutgers game?
It was a scaled up version of what he's been doing all year, making open shots. He does get to the paint, but it's not like super creative. It's because he's a lights out shooter and he's making shots. And he's like, he finishes, but he's a below the rim finisher. He can make plays, but I don't think he's a point guard. But again, if he's wide open, Ralph, I feel like the ball is going to go in. And he plays smart. He makes really good decisions. He's a really good basketball player is what I'm saying. I just don't know what it looks like in the NBA. And as far as like where he's drafted at, if he were to enter the draft this year.
Yeah, I mean, there's always room for high IQ players that can shoot. Yeah, it's probably going to be hard to put in the box as a 1 or a 2. And I don't even know if you can really label him like a combo.
Right.
But I think that he is the type of player, and of course these guys don't like growing trees. Not everybody has them, but he's that good complementary guard that you play next to a LeBron James type, a Jimmy Butler type, a Luka Doncic or James Harden type. I think he's that complementary guard.
So those guys, to me, sound like guys you draft in the 20s.
Well, we just saw Reed Sheppard go number 3, and I think Reed Sheppard is he a point?
Yeah, but Reed had more volume at Kentucky. Reed had games where he took over. He did shoot the ball amazingly well. And even though Reed is,
and he had some good performances in summer league where you're and he had like a 49-point game or something like that in the G League.
And like, I think in a different situation, Reed is in the argument for Rookie of the Year. If Reed had the usage, he can play. He just plays for a team that is top 3 in the West right now, and the coach is not messing with him. So,
number 3 pick, and the coach isn't messing with you. That's crazy. Hey, we were saying free Reed Sheppard until Reed Sheppard is free, but I mean, it can't knock what Houston has done this year. You can't question what Udoka has. It's just hard to question the success, because this is the best that they've been since the James Harden era. Well, that wraps up this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast. Once again, thank you for making this your first listen of the day. Please check out the Locked On newsletter and also subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. Hit that button so you can be notified every time we drop an episode. We're coming at you 5 days a week. Again, it's Rafael and James, and we are out of here.